Grand greetings! Susan Smallwood, the Grand Caviar Queen, here with Dr. Renee McSwain of Sage Light Integrative Wellness Center. Say hello to the audience, Doctor.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Nice to see you.
And this is the first CaviarXconvo, ooh la la, with La Grande Caviar. Ooh la la.
Ooh la la.
Dr. McSwain is going to talk about epigenetics.
Yes, so from a Chinese medicine point of view, absolutely. So kind of what we do here, so we're an integrative holistic center, and we do acupuncture, naturopathic medicine, Chinese and Western herbal medicine, energy therapy. We also do, that's right, we got to get ours in. Massage therapy, as well as nutritional counseling. So my purpose when I designed the center was to really have a one-stop shop as far as holistic services, where our practitioners and providers are able to share, cross-collaborate, talk about our client care, and be able to give the best services to our clients, our patients, our individuals that come in and seek therapy with us. So with that, a lot of what we do is based on energetic medicine. And so acupuncture, which is the modality that I practice, as well as Chinese herbs, really is about this body, mind, and spirit balance. So all of the 360 points that we regularly work with has a physiological component, which is a body component, psycho-emotional component, as well as a spiritual component. So each time a treatment is designed, it is addressing all three layers of a human being, right? So although acupuncture is fantastic for different physical ailments, for migraines, chronic illnesses, low back pain, etc., those are rooted energetically. So by the time they get to the physical vessel and they start to be the barking dog, it is already manifested denser in the layers of energy from the psycho-emotional and the spiritual component.
Say that again.
By the time it gets to the barking dog in the physical, it has already become dense in matter. It's become compacted, where it's dense enough from the psycho-emotional and the spiritual component. So everything starts in an energy, right? We're energetic beings. We're not just this flesh suit, right? There is an animation within us that is not defined by words, which is energy, right? So acupuncture works to bring balance and harmony. And how we do that is basically being able to work with the 12 meridian systems, see what meridian systems are distressed. So all of the 12 major organs in the bodies have meridian systems, which are kind of flows of energy, circuitries of energy that runs throughout the body. And so with that, due to life, lifestyle, trauma, etc., 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 things that have not been processed, that flow of energy or that movement of chi, what we call, which is the energy, some people call it prana. There's other names that have been addressed to it. And that flow of chi gets blocked and stagnated. And once it becomes blocked and stagnated enough, then it starts to cause this accumulation of that chi, which then starts to block not only just the energy, but then the liquid substances in our body, which is the blood and also the fluids in our body. So once that becomes an issue, then we start to get these little kind of like whisperings from the body. It might be that little mild headache you have, right?
Did y'all hear that?
It may be, oh, like I feel so tired, been tired for the last couple of days, right? It may be these little small whisperings, and if we continue to go, per usual, and don't check it and don't actually take a moment to say, hey, what's going on? Then they eventually become bigger and bigger and bigger until the body always wins, so it will shut you down one way or the other. So what happens is that most people that come to me, they come because of whatever that barking dog is, right? Knee pain, chronic headaches, etc. And so what I do is I want to get them out of distress, but I also want to not only treat the branch of what's happening, which is the symptoms, I want to address the root. And the root is the emotional piece of it, right? So the emotions are our energy emotion. It is also our gateway into our spirit, right? If we weren't supposed to have emotions, we would not be human beings, right? We would be androids, and, we wouldn't have to worry about it. But energy, emotions and energy, if it's mastered, can become quite a lovely power center for us to manifest and to create the life we want. But when we are dealing with things that have happened, right, trauma, things, most of us are trying to survive our childhood, right? I don't know one person that had like the perfect childhood.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Doesn't exist. And only because we are dealing with trauma that has been passed down intergenerationally. So when this trauma has happened and we are in a state of being a child, we don't have the emotional intelligence, we don't have the emotional maturity to even know what is happening to us. So what do? We develop mechanisms to try to cope, to survive, right? And because constitutionally we have vitality to do that because we're children and we're young, we can do that pretty successfully, right? We can survive. We could put the traumas in pockets, right? Categorize them, not think about it, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and keep moving, right? But eventually over time, as we age is about you losing vitality, right? So as we become a day older, each time we lose vitality. On top of, with women, we menstruate, we have children. Those are big kind of ticket items of chi that we expend, right? And so over time, we are unable to keep those things at bay. We can't keep the trauma in kind of its category. So we get aches and pains, we get things in the joints, right? We have hip pain, we got low back pain, we have knee pain, etc. And so those things, if they are gone unresolved, they stay in the somatic body. Eventually, they will start to form in the substances of the blood, stagnate the blood, and eventually, left unchecked, they will start to go into the DNA expression.
So this is where the generational curse, as people mention, how it's passed down from one generation to the next. And this is what Dr. McSwain is explaining now.
Absolutely. So when it's left unchecked, it will start to then go in an intergenerational pass-through, usually through the mom. But remember, we have two parents, right? So we are experiencing whatever trauma happened with the mother's bloodline as well as the father's bloodline, right?
So is it like compounded then?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And because we are in, basically a whole storage of water for 9 months, right? Whatever the mother is going through at the time, she may be in some type of distress throughout the pregnancy. All of that becomes a part of our expression and how we develop, right? Whether or not we develop and we reach our milestones is really based on what happens within that fetal development.
Right.
And then also what gets passed down intergenerationally through the mother. So it becomes a part of, then you start to see the expression where there's psycho-emotional disturbances throughout a bloodline, right? Maybe there's a mental illness that, schizophrenia that may have passed on through the bloodline, right? Because it's become part of the genetic expression, right? There's even a gene called the BRCA gene, right, which tests for breast cancer as well as ovarian cancer, right? So as we know that these are genetic components, but most of the time when we see those expressions of any type of ovarian or breast, which they have a connecting vessel between the breast, the heart, and the uterus.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called the bimai. And so what happens is it's unresolved heart issues, unresolved pain, emotional disturbances that has condensed and condensed and condensed over time because it becomes bitter. And when it becomes bitter, then it becomes stagnated. So what we do in acupuncture is we start to work with the chi, the flow, and start to release things out of the somatic body, start to release things out of the blood. The blood holds the memory.
Wow.
Blood is more than just kind of this red substance, right, that just lubricates the organs and the vessels. Absolutely it does, yes.
So the acupuncture helps release.
It starts to release the stagnation.
That's in the blood.
That's in the blood.
So how, when you say released, is it excreted?
Sometimes it is excreted. Sometimes it helps to, sometimes it depends on what's happening in the body, right? So if the person has a compounded amount of stagnation in the body, it produces what we call a heat in the body. So what we have to do is basically cool the blood down, right? And there's a lot of points that are designed to cool the blood so that the blood can start to departiculate. It starts to break down, right? The congealness starts to break down. If there is a number of deficiency in the body where the blood, or the kidneys and the liver system has been like so stagnated or just kind of beat down from life, then we need to nourish. We need to nourish those organ systems, nourish the blood so that the blood starts to flow again so things can start to be released. So sometimes that may come through bowel movements, urine, sometimes rashes, right? I've had a number of people that releasing a good amount of trauma that they will start to have rashes throughout the body because the organ system of the skin is the largest organ system and it's the most exterior organ system of the body. So the body is wise. But people understood how the body really works, they would see how magnificent the circuitry in the machine of the body is. It really does everything in its power to hold things away from the major organ systems.
Wow.
Right? So things even like cysts and, things that, like arthritis and things like that, it really does try to hold it away. It puts it in these places that are not near the organs in order to keep it at a distance until hopefully the person is ready to start to deal with these things.
Oh, okay.
So acupuncture is designed for that. It starts to address, normally when people come in, it's about an hour and a half. We chit chat for anywhere between 45 to an hour. That's for me to understand your story. So we go through what happens in the physical, right? All your medical history, psycho-emotional history, what happened in childhood, and we start to begin this synergistic relationship. And the first 3 sessions are designed for clearings. And they're clearings, and it sounds just like what it is. The clearings are designed as, if you're a garden, right? Before you can plant anything in the garden, I have to pull all the weeds out. I gotta turn the soil over, right? I gotta check the porosity of the soil and make sure it doesn't need anything. It doesn't need any phosphorus or Epsom salt or things like that in order to make it more fertile. Before we can plant anything in that garden, it has to be a clear surface. And so the clearings are designed for that. Thereafter, the next 6 or 8 treatments are really geared towards like what is happening in the body, what organ systems need the most assistance, right? For most women, it is the kidneys, the liver, and the spleen. Spleen is responsible for the transportation of our nutrients in the body. The liver is responsible for guiding our menses, right? It also is responsible for the smooth flow of chi, so our emotional state in the body. Of course, it detoxifies the blood, etc., etc. But on an energetic level, that's what it does, as well as the physical level. And then the kidneys are the powerhouse. The kidneys are what we call the battery pack to life. It contains the will to life. So the kidneys are extremely important.
Wow.
Extremely important.
Oh.
Not only does it contain the genetic information, what we call the gene, from the mother and the father, but it also contains the jur. And the jur is this will to life.
And how do you spell jur?
C-H-I, jur. And so it contains the will to life as well as our Tao. Why did you come here?
Oh.
What is your purpose?
Wow.
What did you come here to do? And everything you need is contained genetically already within you in order to live out your Tao.
We have the power inside of us.
Absolutely.
To create our destiny.
Absolutely.
So how is this different from neuroplasticity? Yeah, I believe I asked you that question when we first chatted.
Well, so here's the thing. We want to basically remind the body how to function. So oftentimes when individuals may go through procedures, or like, they want to kind of get rid of veins, varicose. Varicose are actually called what we call divergent channels in the body. And so divergent channels form when trauma happens.
Oh.
So the varicose veins that you have are really basically the body's way of trying to contain trauma.
So a person that has varicose veins, they've experienced a lot of trauma. It's not a medical condition?
Well, it becomes a medical condition.
It becomes a medical, but that's the way it manifests.
Absolutely. And so it's called the divergent channel, or the great low channels. And the low channels can hold things into stagnation. So oftentimes we'll work with the divergent channels in order to either release, right, out of those channels, release the trauma, release the stagnation, or to put into latency, depending on the constitutional state of that person. Like if the person has terminal cancer, stage 4, they're already weak, they're debilitated, we're not going to try to release. It takes a great amount of energy to try to release that.
Oh, I see.
Right? We're going to drive that further into latency, right, in order to help the person preserve the quality of their existence.
Absolutely.
Right? But for most of us, if that's not the issue, we can actually start to release those things out of those divergences. So I bleed varicose veins.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Bleeding is a phenomenal tactic. It's been used for forever. When people would, use leeching, right? It's basically the same effect where you're trying to draw out the toxins out of the bloodstream.
So when you bleed out the veins, is that a permanent process, or does it return?
It can return if the person does not deal with why it came. Right?
As within, so without.
Absolutely. So that's the thing about all of these modalities, right? It really is up to the person on the level of what they want to do as far as healing. I always say I have a machete and I clear a pathway. And the person has a choice whether or not they want to go through that pathway, right? So if there's lifestyle factors that have to do with if you sit a lot, right? If you don't eat the right, quality of foods, right? If you don't get enough movement in your day, if you don't have good sleeping habits, etc. Those are lifestyle components, and I do counsel people through that, right? But on the emotional level, on the trauma, if they're not willing to face it within themselves, it is bound to return.
Absolutely. So you can't heal what you don't reveal, as Jay-Z says.
Yep.
And when we start working on our healing journey, making a conscious effort to heal, we can transform our lives and create our destiny and become the grandest version of ourselves. So what last minute words would you like to tell the audience, Dr. McSwain?
I would say, make a decision whichever way. If you choose healing, just know that there's resources out here to help, to guide. We can't do it for them, right? It's not our job. But we can provide guidance, we can provide help, we can hold your hand, and provide tools for you. So what I do is I build toolkits for people, right? And so all these modalities are tools that we can use as we are processing. So if you make a decision to heal, right, and now more than ever because of social media, because of the internet, just because of the rise of these type of services, because I think people really have come to a limit as far as what our medical community has been able to offer, that people can make different decisions, right? Acupuncture is now covered with insurance. Thank you.
Yay! Yay!
So if you make a decision to heal, right, it's a dedication to yourself.
That's right. Invest in yourself.
Yeah.
It's an investment into yourself. We only have this one lifetime to live it in the grandest way possible. So I'm so grateful to have met you and that you could explain what epigenetics means to our audience. I am Susan Smallwood, the Grand Caviar Queen, and follow us at CaviarXconvo on IG. We just started this channel, and look for many more topics under CaviarXconvo. Thanks and have a grand day. Ooh la la.
Ooh la la.